Good morning and good afternoon, and welcome to the High Performance Podcast, hosted by Performance Solution by Milliken. I'm Phil McIntyre, VP and Managing Director of Performance Solution by Milliken, and with me is Mark Love.
Yes, Mark Love, Director of Client Engagement with Performance Solutions by Milliken. I've been with Milliken for 35 years, the last 15 years in our Performance Solutions business, and in my role, I'm focused on really designing the engagement approach that really helps clients achieve their win.
Thanks, Mark. And thanks for being here today. Before we get into a rapid improvement approach to problem solving, the title of this podcast, let me level set a little bit, set the stage a little bit. Milliken & Company is a 165-year-old manufacturing company based in Spartanburg, South Carolina, an industrial manufacturing company. It's also a value-based organization, value safety of the associate, environmental stewardship, a bias for action for continuous improvement. Performance Solutions by Milliken was created about 20 years ago based on the learnings we've had within Milliken & Company to help other organizations on their journeys of continuous improvement, safety excellence, supply chain optimization. The rapid improvement approach is something we've created about 5 years ago post-COVID. And speaking of post-COVID, we've actually created new nomenclature for how we engaged before COVID and how we engaged after. We call pre-COVID BC, before COVID. Most organizations were system-centric in their continuous improvement methodologies. And we're strong believers of a system-centric methodology. We still are. It's a differentiator for how we do things. But we have found post-COVID, AC, after COVID, that a lot of organizations didn't have the luxury of the time required for a system-based approach. They needed immediate help in a certain area now. And so we pivoted based on the market demand to create an engagement of where we can help a company that is having a significant opportunity, a significant loss in a certain area. We call it a rapid improvement approach to manufacturing. Mark, why don't you describe what a rapid improvement approach looks like?
Yes, so basically a client will come to us with what I like to call an urgent or targeted need, Phil. So you think about, right, they've got a pain point. They either got a productivity or volume issue in their organization. They might have a customer complaint or quality issue. It might be an issue with safety. It might be another issue or opportunity with cost or something in their organization. And so they are feeling that pressure. They're feeling the pain point. And from that, they'll reach out to us and say, we need to alleviate this pain point in this targeted area in our facility. And really need improvement right away. We need it fast, and we don't really have the bandwidth, we don't have the capabilities. We know we're performing at an X level, we need to go to a Y level in a specific period of time. And what we do as a practitioner group is really design what is the resources, what are the efforts they need to be able to accomplish that task.
So you and I both have used the word rapid several times. We use the word fast. What does it mean? What does rapid mean? How do you quantify what rapid in the rapid improvement approach means?
Yeah, Phil, the rapid improvement, when we think of that term, is really a 4 to 6 month time frame, specifically around what does that client need to accomplish. Again, we talked about going from a level X, going to a level Y. We normally operate in that 4 to 6 month time frame. However, our practitioners and our team really want to meet the client's needs. So it really, once we understand the from X to Y, we can talk about the resources required to make that rapid approach. Some people might need 4 months or a little bit less. Some people, the right cadence or time frame might be 6 months.
So let's define it just a little more, Mark, because I started the introductions by talking about a systems-based approach, and now we're talking about a rapid improvement-based approach. We haven't gotten away from a system-based methodology or a system-based mindset. Still very core differentiating to what we do. We believe in a system. But talk for just a minute how a system-based approach can still be achieved through a rapid improvement beginning.
Yeah, I think that's very important. There are a lot of times where we partner with a client, Phil, where they have that immediate need or they have that opportunity that they want us to address, and really they see the value that we bring to that organization. They see the improvements, they see the sustainable results, and that allows us to lead to that further holistic or that system-based approach where they can spread those learnings and those improvements across their entire platform in that site or that location.
Yeah. So I'm a company that's interested in taking a rapid improvement approach. What's the first thing you're going to do with me?
Well, the first thing I would say, roughly 80%, Phil, of the clients that work with us are really coming to us with that specific need, right? They've worked with us. It could be a board member. It could be a senior leader in the company. They've partnered with us in the past, and they see the fact that, we add value to the organization. So they reach out to us, and they're saying, this is the specific targeted, this is the urgent improvement we need. This is the area which we need it, and they really kind of understand the time frame they're looking for. So they reach out to us. We create that partnership. I would say the other 20% of the time where a client is going to kind of land on that rapid improvement approach is they're going to start with maybe they're thinking they want a holistic system. They really see the value in a holistic improvement system. We start that assessment, I would say, an assessment process where we're going in there and looking at that entire facility. But as we're looking at that entire facility, we're talking to the leadership team, we're seeing their struggles and pain points. We really identify one area in that site where they've got issues, they have opportunities, and really we don't believe a performance system or an operational excellence system is going to be successful because of all the resources and all the challenges in that one area. So we just take a step back and say, okay, leadership team, your folks on the floor, your corporate office, let's all partner together and say, okay, can we take a step back? Can we walk back this and say, going forward, we probably need to address this in a this one area where we have pain points, this one area we have issues, we need to address that first. Let's get the improvement, the sustainable results. Let's get that ox out of the ditch. Let's make sure that we're going forward in the right way. So when we do implement the holistic improvement system, then we're able to put the right resources and efforts, and it's a better engagement for that client.
Well, there's another benefit we've seen many times as well, and you've seen it more than I have, is that when a company does begin with a rapid improvement approach, fundamentally it becomes self-funding for the other improvements that they're going to do over time. There's so much work and achievements that are created early on that it becomes the way to pay back a system approach.
Definitely can make it more of a pay forward as you go along process. You see the value, you get the payback, but you also really have validation and proof, right? That this relationship, this partnership is the right thing for our organization in a very piloted type approach.
So you used the word assessment a minute ago. The first step with a rapid improvement approach, some type of assessment, some type of evaluation?
The word we like to use for a holistic system is really assessment. For a targeted rapid improvement, we use that word evaluation. We are not looking at an entire site. We're not trying to really understand the site issues and opportunities. It's important to know that when we're doing a full assessment because we're going to be implementing across the entire platform. However, when we're doing a rapid improvement implementation, we already have the focus area. Again, it might be a cost issue, a productivity or volume issue. It might be a quality complaint or opportunity there, or a safety opportunity. So we already know what the opportunity is, and we also know the focused area, right? We know the group of, I'd say the area or group of machines or a department that we need to focus in on. So we are very targeted in that evaluation. So we're gonna up front get some data and information. We're gonna be able to review that, but that data can only tell us so much, right? We don't understand the validity of that data. We don't understand how well that data was captured. What we want to make sure is we have a chance to have boots on the ground. So it might be 1 week, it might be 2 weeks where we're going to be on site with that partner to be able to say, okay, boots on the ground, what are really those issues? Let me go out there and go on the floor and see these opportunities. Let's see them in real time. Let's understand those pain points, the struggles of those operators or those employees that are having that issue. Let's understand the equipment condition. Let's understand how leaders are leading that site effectively or where there are gaps and opportunities. So that evaluation gives us a chance to really validate where we are and really say, we're going from X to Y over this time frame. Let's understand exactly what we're walking into, And then the next part of that evaluation, still in the evaluation phase, is developing that list of projects. Once we really understand those issues and opportunities, once we understand the gaps, we're going to be able to develop in a partnership with the site, what are those 6, 10, 12 projects that we as a group can land on that says, this is going to be the thing that closes those gaps in this period of time. The thing I like to say is really short duration, quick win projects, high impact. What are those things that there's a lot of projects we could land on, but we've got to understand that time frame. So we're going to be focused, short duration, high impact. We're going to come up with a list of projects. And at the end of that evaluation, not months later, not days later, the very end of that evaluation, we're going to be able to walk through that list. We're going to talk about the owners. We're going to talk about, does Milliken need to own some of these projects, right? Because you don't have the bandwidth and capabilities in the organization. And we're going to be able to say what capabilities the clients have to lead those projects. So we're going to walk away from there with, these are our list of projects, specifically by project, what's the improvement, what's the effort, and we're going to be able to say who's going to own those projects so we can start them right away.
So let me ask you a couple of questions. Let me summarize first. Let me tell you what I heard and you tell me if it's correct. One of the first things we do with an organization when they're interested in a rapid improvement approach is an evaluation. And you mentioned in your description of that, you've seen problems such as safety, productivity, need for OE improvement. Have you seen any problems that a rapid improvement approach could not fix?
No, I mean, again, it goes back to really understanding that what is that urgent pain point? What is that issue and opportunity? Definitely the focused effort that we're able to provide, because again, clients struggle, right? They've got a whole site to operate. They've got different things that pull their focus away. When we're on that site, we are 100% focused, and that ability to really focus, land on the right opportunities, focus on those opportunities, and put in sustainable improvements is where clients are able to see the improvements and sustain.
So the next question I had for you, I told you 2 questions. You stole the word before I could get to it. Sustainability. I think the sustainability of projects is probably paramount in companies' minds. It is ours because it's a true indicator of successful work with an organization. You start with an evaluation, you go to a project charter, you charter the projects, you start working on the projects. How do you sustain the gains that those projects deliver over time?
Yeah, I think that's probably the most important thing, because everyone understands, right? We can have a focused effort, if we put enough effort and resources on it, we can see an improvement. But people worry, am I going to be able to sustain those gains? And what we tell them is through our practices, through our process, through this rapid improvement approach, there's really 2 tools we use for sustainability. The first is a daily management system, Phil, right? And that's a big word, but it's really, think about communication. How do we communicate to our group, right, in that focused area, what are the expectations? And how, it could be hour by hour, it could be every shift, it could be every day, it could be every week. How do we reinforce those expectations? How do we review and respond to how we're performing against those expectations? How do we set up triggers for doing additional root cause analysis? How do we make sure that we are understanding how we're performing in really short interval amount of time, but also look forward? Very important part of daily management system, not only how did I do in the past, did I win, did I have an opportunity, but am I looking forward? Am I able to say, okay, over the next shift, what am I going to be able to do? Over the next day, what am I going to be able to do to achieve this win? And I believe that's a very powerful part, is that daily management system, that review and response. That's going to be key to sustainability. And the other key, the second point, is really, in all our projects, we follow a define, measure, analyze, improve, control kind of cadence of project framework. And during that process, in the improve phase, we're going to use a countermeasure ladder. And that countermeasure ladder is integral, right? Every project, when we do an improvement in that project, what level of countermeasure? Is it going to be something where we're just writing a different 1-point lesson, or we're writing a different standard operating procedure? That's a very low level countermeasure, right? That's something we have to make sure everyone does on a consistent basis. Or it could be, we're going to audit it, but there's really not a lot of people to audit and verify that all these things are happening around the clock in operations. The third could be we're going to really have a visual control. At a glance, we'll know if we're good or bad. A higher level than that would be error proofing, where it's more difficult to do it the wrong way than it is to do it the right way. Yeah, then you're getting to a really powerful countermeasure that's going to sustain. And then, of course, you could have an engineered solution or totally eliminate the need for that operation. So as we're looking at sustainability, really the focus on a daily management system and what type of countermeasures that we land on are the two things that help our clients sustain these gains and really build off of them in the future.
So I know when we work with organizations, much of our engagements are focused on empowering the hourly workforce. Much of the engagement is also a function of working with leadership on how they should manage the change. But you also talk about many times working with that middle part, the shift supervision is very important as well. You mentioned boots on the ground. Describe a little bit how boots on the ground interacts with hourly associates, leadership, and shift supervision.
Yeah, for the actual implementation of a specific project. So we're gonna be leading some projects. We're actually going to be taking ownership. I mean, I would say historically, in a system-based approach, we've done a lot of coaching and teaching and mentoring. However, in a rapid improvement, we're going to be boots on the ground actually executing projects. We're going to be pulling team members from that facility to help drive those projects and support those projects, but we'll be taking a leadership role. So boots on the ground there really looks like us leading the project, right? Us owning that project from the start, from chartering all the way to the control phase. However, there are going to be some projects where that site has the capability. They have the bandwidth to take on an ownership. But again, we can't just trust that they're going to lead that project. We can't just trust they're going to execute and deliver results. We have to sit side by side with that team to make sure that they are driving results and driving process, because we don't have that luxury of missing a week. If it's only a 16-week engagement, not 4 months, 16 weeks, we don't have that luxury of having a down week. We always have to be executing projects, and we always have to be delivering results.
Well, we've also seen, when you talk about boots on the ground and being shoulder to shoulder, that we interact with many companies that are unknowingly experiencing what we call whack-a-mole.
Yes.
Their attention is diverted to so many different projects at the same time, it's difficult for them to focus on the most critical ones early on.
Definitely. I would say when we walk into any organization, and I think everyone in the audience would agree, that there are a multitude of opportunities. There are always things you're going to find as an issue, things you could work on, but we have been tasked, right, on this urgent issue, on this specific opportunity, in this specific time frame, right, from X to Y by a certain time frame. We have been asked by that leadership team to really focus in on this result. And as we see other opportunities, right, whether it's our team or whether they've seen success in this one area and people are like, well, what about these other areas of our facility? We can sit there and say, okay, we respect that. It could be a safety issue. It could be something that we really need to address. However, we have to be mindful that we want to address that issue. We want to do the right thing for that client, but it might take extra resources. It likely will. So we need to be willing to walk into that conversation with the site leadership and senior leadership and say, we have recognized this opportunity. Your team has brought us this opportunity. What do we really need to do to add resources to make sure we don't lose focus on the initial opportunity, this urgent and critical issue, and we can add resources to solve these other issues.
So let me tell you what I just heard. We're not just a bigger mallet. We keep that mole from coming up to begin with.
Exactly.
Very good. Mark, we've seen organizations that are working with us on a system-based approach and discovered that they have a rapid improvement need that they haven't seen previously, such as one organization is losing $1.5 million per month today on their product. And during the system-based approach, they said, can you help us here? Talk a little bit about all engagements don't necessarily start with a rapid improvement approach. It's a skill set that we have in order to address a problem.
Yes. Again, I try to tell everyone when when I partner, when I'm telling folks kind of my bio and what I do, it is all about designing the right approach, right? That's what it's all about. It's what is the right approach, and with some organizations, it is a full-blown holistic system and process, right? Operational excellence system. For other clients, it is the right time and the right place for them just to do rapid improvement. I try not to say, right, what do you want to do? It's really understanding the current state and what do they need to do? What are the needs of your organization? It's not about wanting to do operational excellence or wanting to do continuous improvement or wanting to do rapid improvement. It's really what are the needs of their organization at that time? And it might be diverse. We might have a couple of sites, like you mentioned, that are in a full system deployment and they're doing a great job. They're implementing and seeing a lot of great results. However, there's a pocket of that organization that really sees, man, we're getting people hurt here, or we're having issues and opportunities with quality, or in this specific case, right, material utilization. And how can we really focus in on that as part of, right, an overall relationship with a client to do what's exactly right for them in that moment in time?
So what can an organization expect from a return on investment standpoint? What's the typical number that we see from the rapid improvement approach methodology?
Yeah, so and I would say it's mostly in hindsight that we look at this. Most every client is going to come to us with we want to go from X to Y in a certain amount of time frame. We see ROIs 10 to 1, 20 to 1, not uncommon at all, right? We are highly successful when we partner with our clients. However, it is rare that I would say we walk into a client and they say, we want an ROI of 20. What they tell us is, we have this urgent need. It is costing our organization money. It is hurting us as far as our customer and our relationships there. We need this help. We need to go from X to Y in this amount of time frame to win in our organization. And after that, the math is usually really easy, because if it's a big enough pain point, it's costing that organization a lot of money.
So I was going to tell you to not be humble, but 10 to 1, 20 to 1 are pretty strong numbers.
Very strong, very strong.
So let's talk about some of the industry segmentations we worked in. Food and beverage, paper and packaging, chemical. I'm listing 3 out of hundreds that we work with. Have you seen any type of industry segmentation where this has not worked?
No, it's really worked across the board. Again, it's people have pain points, whether you're in the service industry, you're in a utility industry, right? Whether you're in a metal foundry, aerospace, defense, agriculture, people have issues and opportunities, and they're working hard on their improvements. However, most organizations run into an issue where they don't have the bandwidth, they don't have the capability, maybe they don't have the tools to be able to solve those issues and opportunities. And that's where we can partner, right? You can't wait, right, to get something right before you call us, right? You need, if an organization is struggling, they've got a pain point, they've got an issue, right? Please reach out, let us know, and we'd love to help.
So what you're saying is that it really is applicable to any type of industry segmentation. Although it's not a cut and paste approach, it is customizable to specifically their needs, what they have an opportunity with. But let's also talk a minute, Mark, about the differences that you've seen in organizations that are privately held versus publicly traded versus a private equity firm that's looking to maximize and sell versus other PE firms that are looking to capture value. What are some of the differences you've seen between the ownership stake of an organization?
Great question. First of all, as you would think, Phil, right? It works across whether it's a private company, whether it's publicly traded, whether it's a private equity, right? The approach, of course, works right across all. But it is, I would say, very interesting on the private equity side. That's been a growth for us as far as private equity clients that come to us and say, right, we're not ready to sign up for a holistic system right now. We've bought an organization, or we've had one for a while. There's struggles, there's issues, there are opportunities. We need a quick turnaround. We need to show profitability. We need to make sure we're moving in the right direction. So really, we can partner with those clients, those private equity firms, to say, okay, specifically where are those pain points, specifically where are those needs. Let's talk about what you need to show the value, so you're getting more volume, you're getting more throughput, you're adding value to your organization, because that's what those private equity firms are doing. They're looking at how can they increase value in those organizations, and we can be a great partner through rapid improvement to be able to show those improvements and results.
I think Performance Solutions by Milliken was founded based on a lot of things that Milliken had done over its journeys. And now 20 years into it, we've been able to sprinkle in successes that we've seen in other organizations and really have a differentiated approach to problem solving. Talk a little bit, Mark, about the actual practitioner that would go on site and do some of the work with the organization.
Yeah, we've used that word a couple of times in this podcast, where we use the word practitioner. Maybe not everyone feels as familiar with that term, but historically, right, you think of consultants, folks that come in, they help you try to add value to your organization. We call our team practitioners because our team has been in those same roles that our clients are in. They grew up in those roles. They have seen some of the same struggles. They have seen some of the same opportunities. And now they have the tools and capabilities to be able to lead a client through those issues and opportunities to success. And what it does that I would say is different than a traditional consultant that walks in the door is we instantly have that credibility. We instantly have that trust to be able to deliver those results. Because I will tell you, right, trust is sometimes hard to gain when you have someone from the outside. Our team is uniquely qualified to be able, because they have sat in those positions that the client's in today.
So let me summarize what we've heard for the last few minutes. When an organization has an opportunity and they're looking for a rapid improvement approach and they're interested in us, one of the first things we would do is a get to know, an evaluation. We would want the client to be able to articulate specifically what their need is. Once we do an evaluation, we would move into a phase of project establishment, project charter. Who's going to do what when? How do we measure success on these individual projects? And then we move into a phase of review and response to ensure the sustainability over time. Would you summarize it like that?
Definitely, and I would say, and that review and response phase at the end is critical. And it's really not at the end. It's really ongoing throughout the entire project. There's two levels of review and response, Phil, that are critical to this process. One is every week we want to meet with that leadership in that organization, boots on the ground, where we're at. We want to meet with them to not only validate that the projects are moving forward, but also that we're creating a glide path, and every week we're expecting these improvements and results. So every week we have a chance to look at the projects with the team, with the leadership team. We have a chance to look at that glide path and say, not are we just 6 weeks from now or 4 months from now getting to a point. Every week, what's that glide path say? How are we performing every week? And that is a powerful thing, right? That we're not just looking at 4 months and saying, did we achieve something? Every week we're measuring our progress. So that's very important to do every week, that review and response at the site level. Again, we can celebrate, we can recognize success, right? We can close gaps. The other part of that review and response is with corporate leadership, because again, we've been asked by board members, we've been asked by senior leaders, this is a big problem for the organization, not just for a specific site. How can they have a chance to show their support to that site? So it's great for us to have a monthly touch point with that senior leadership team to say, this is how we're performing, right? This is how the site is performing. This is how your teams are doing. And it gives them a chance not only to recognize that team and really give them great feedback to say, man, you've made a huge difference, or remove some barriers. Maybe something's not going really well at the first start of a project. Let's make sure that that senior leadership knows they can help us remove those barriers, remove those obstacles. But for the most time, it's them being able to recognize the success and hard work. Because I tell everybody, we're there to provide those tools. We're boots on the ground. We're leading projects, but we're not trying to get the glory. We're not trying to get the pat on the back. What we want to do is those folks that we're helping, they've been working hard on these journeys. We want to make sure they get the success and they get to see the recognition from their leadership team, because it takes a partnership to be able to be successful.
Great job wrapping it up, Mark. And thank you. Outstanding job on High Performance Podcast, focusing on a rapid improvement approach. Great job.
Thank you, Phil.
As we wrap up, and you see our contact information on the slide, I do want to mention that Milliken & Company has several manufacturing facilities in and near the Spartanburg, South Carolina area. If you're interested in learning more, we'd love for you to reach out and chat, or let's talk about touring one of our plants with us. We have accommodations here that makes that very easy. Thank you very much. Appreciate your attendance.
Thank you.